On a breathtaking, stormy night in a remote village on an isolated island, we witness one of the most brutal moments. It starts with a woman completely losing it in the peak of her labor pain because she's seconds away from giving birth to twins. Right then, the old midwife tells her to hang in there just a little longer, trying her best to hold off the birth until dawn. The assistant hears this and thinks it's an absolute joke. Like, how is a woman in active labor supposed to control that? But the old lady makes it clear, even if she dies, she has to hold out until dawn. Because these two babies are the long-awaited twins who will rule the 9 kingdoms of the Shadow Realm. As soon as daylight breaks, the twins are finally born. Their dad is sitting there in front of them, looking worried, sick, and terrified, saying that these two kids will divide night and day, and the whole world is gonna turn upside down because of them. We find out the twins are named Yuru and Asa, which literally mean night and day. Fast forward 16 years later, our main characters are all grown up. Now let me introduce you to our boy Yuru. At first glance, you'd think he's soft as a marshmallow, but this kid is low-key a badass with 9 lives. His only goal in life is to protect his twin sister, and he has no clue why the whole world is trying to keep them hidden. We see him chilling in the woods, waiting out in total silence to hunt a bird. As soon as he secures the bag, he heads back to the village. On his way, he hears a roaring sound coming from above. He looks up at the sky and figures it's just a dragon's trail. The moment he gets back to the village, his buddy Danji is there waiting for him, chewing him out for going hunting alone without letting him know. Danji asks him what he would have done if he got hurt or if something went sideways while he was out there by himself. But Yuru, being the reckless guy who honestly gives 0 F, shrugs it off to reassure him, saying there's no need to stress because he can watch his own back and knows how to handle his business. Right then, Danji spots the bird Yuru caught, instantly forgets why he was mad and gets hyped, especially since his stomach is about to be blessed. On their way home, they pass by some villagers harvesting rice. Yuru offers to give them a hand. Kids got manners, you know. That's why as he walks through the village, everybody greets him with nothing but love. It's obvious he's a total fan favorite around there. When he finally gets home, we see the 2 women who delivered him. We find out the old lady is named Yamaha and the other woman is Danji's mom. The second she sees her son, she goes, "Perfect timing, get over here and help us out a bit." But Danji pulls an excuse out of thin air and dips. Ultimate disrespect, honestly. Yuru ignores Danji's drama and asks Yamaha about his sister Asa. She tells him she's doing just fine and working hard as usual. Yuru walks inside and we see his sister in a pitch-black room, locked away in a place that looks straight up like a prison. There's a huge secret behind this that we'll find out later. As soon as she sees him, she welcomes him with a smile and asks how it went. He sits down and tells her about Danji and the bird he caught, adding that he wanted to hunt something bigger, especially since there's been no rain this year and the crops aren't looking too hot. Asa anxiously asks him if the villagers will have to head down the mountain to find work. When he tells her that's probably how it's gonna play out, she asks if he's leaving with them. He goes, "Hell no, why do you think I'm busting my ass hunting? If I catch some decent game, I won't have to go down there to work." She begs him not to walk out on her like their parents did. He responds, comforting her and promising he's not leaving the village, and as long as she's here, he's staying right by her side to protect her. Right at that moment, Danji's mom walks in and lets Yuru know that a guy named Dara has arrived. Yuru heads over to Dara, who's clearly a merchant bringing goods to the village. The villagers are all crowded around Dara, everyone telling him what they need, doing the whole bartering thing. As soon as Dara spots Yuru, he calls him over and asks if he needs anything, but Yuru says he's good. Dara throws him a ball and says, "I know you don't need anything, you just want a toy for your sister." After Dara finishes selling his stuff, he leaves the village. Later, Yuru goes to harvest rice with Danji. Out there, Danji opens up to him, saying he wishes he could leave the village and go see the outside world because he's convinced life out there must be way better than this broke, isolated village. But Yuru isn't buying it and asks, "What makes you so sure the outside world is any better than this place?" Danji fires back saying it's a no-brainer because everyone who leaves for work never comes back. Like, doesn't that strike you as weird? Anyway, Yuru says he personally prefers the village and doesn't want to leave. His patriotic side is really showing through here. Danji replies, "Yeah, easy for you to say. You've got a little sister to keep you company. Me, I'm out here struggling all on my own. What do you say we all 3 leave this village together?" Yuru shuts him down, telling him that's not happening and he's not letting Asa anywhere near him because he'd ruin her morals, calling him a wild kid with 0 home training. While they're talking, they're startled by a bizarre sound in the sky. Yuru says it's the sound of dragons, but Danji replies that this doesn't sound like the usual stuff. They start looking all around, trying to find the source of the noise, which keeps getting louder by the second, and they have no clue where it's coming from. Then, out of absolutely nowhere, the entire village shakes as if some kind of barrier just shattered. The source of the noise finally reveals itself, a fighter jet zooming through the sky, followed by helicopters hovering right over the village. The villagers are completely shell-shocked because they've never seen anything like this before. Being a primitive village, they literally thought these planes were just dragons. Out of the shadows, a group of armed men appears, and anyone they catch sight of, they drop them instantly and silently. It's glaringly obvious they're a highly trained special forces unit. Within seconds, the village turns into a mass grave after a horrific, bloody massacre. At that moment, the old lady Yamaha realizes the barrier is broken, and demands the people next to her to bring Yuru in at all costs because she knows these gunmen are here to take him. Meanwhile, as Yuru and Danji are rushing back home, they find the butchered bodies of the villagers brutally scattered everywhere. Danji is terrified for his mom, and Yuru's heart is about to drop out of fear for his sister. Without a second thought, both of them sprint as fast as they can to check on them. On their way, they run into two gunmen who open fire on them, but Yuru quickly takes them down, pinning them with 2 arrows in a flash. After making sure nobody is chasing them, they finally arrive at the entrance of the village. Danji is low-key panicking, asking himself if his mom is even okay. Yuru tells him to check his emotions and give him a hand, making him help move some heavy-ass rocks from behind the statue near the gate. In no time, Yuru uncovers a secret trapdoor that leads straight into the house. Danji is completely floored and goes, "Bro, what? I had zero clue there was a secret passage in this village to begin with." Yuru just hits him with a "told you so," reminding him that he always knows how to handle his business, while secretly praying his sister is okay. We leave them for a second and head back to the village, where this girl named Gabu is stepping down from a helicopter. With just a flick of her wrist, she literally pops a villager's head off. Before anyone else can even react, Gabu absolutely obliterates the rest of them. It's like they're being ripped apart by some invisible force through these magic-like moves called tsugai. By the end of her little rampage, only one little girl is left standing. Gabu tries to play nice, comforting the kid by telling her she doesn't kill children. "Oh wow, how ethical of you, queen." Anyway, she gets on the phone, reporting that the area is clear and they can send in the ground troops. But she gets caught completely off guard when she hears that something went horribly wrong with the ground forces. On the flip side, we find out that Dara was ambushed by the attackers. He's standing in the middle of a pile of dead soldiers, wondering how the hell he's gonna handle this total show, especially now that the barrier is shattered. He calls up a woman named Hana, briefs her on the situation, and tells her they need to change the meetup spot because Asa has most likely already made it to the village. Deep inside the village, we see this girl dragging Yamaha's dead body right into the room where Asa is. The moment she sees Asa, she goes, gross, and with a wave of her hand, she blows the gate to pieces, instantly killing fake Asa. Right at that exact second, Yuru bursts in only to find his sister swimming in a pool of her own blood. Time literally freezes for him, and his heart starts racing like crazy. The only sister he had left in this world, slaughtered right before his eyes. Clutching his rage, he glares at the girl, but she just looks back and tells him, "Don't be surprised. I'm your real sister, and I came here to break you out of this fake-ass place and wipe out everyone else." Yuru is utterly traumatized by her words, screaming, "Who the hell are you and what are you even talking about? You are definitely not my sister." He whips an arrow out of his quiver and shoots it straight at her, but she counters with a blast that completely levels the walls of the place. Meanwhile, outside the castle, Dara is sneaking into the village, looking like an absolute beast on the move. With high-level combat skills, he's single-handedly wiping out every single gunman in his path, completely staying off the helicopter's radar. That is, until he runs smack into Gabu. He doesn't even flinch, not at her and not at those giant moving teeth floating next to her. Gabu is thrown off by his confidence and goes, "Wait, you can actually see them." The second she finishes her sentence, the monster lunges at Dara, but he cracks under pressure. Nope. He dodges the attack and fires 2 rounds right at Gabu, which the monster blocks. And despite how insanely intense the situation is, our boy Dara cracks a joke right in the middle of it, telling her, "Man, if I had teeth like that, I'd never have to visit a dentist in my life. And honestly, I wish he hadn't opened his mouth because his trolling completely triggers her." She gets incredibly pissed that he's taking her so lightly. She then asks if he's the one who slaughtered the special forces. Dara fakes a retreat, turning his back on her to make it look like he's running away. She gets ready to shut him down, but gets totally blindsided by a bomb dropping on her straight from the sky. At the exact same time, we see the real Asa standing there while Yuru is flat on the ground. She apologizes to him, explaining that she just wanted to pin his arrow and nothing more, but she's still not used to controlling her powers. Right then, the ball he had drops and rolls over to the fake Asa's corpse. Out of nowhere, a ghost rises from the blood on the floor and pins Asa down. Yamaha, who we all thought was a goner, wakes up and screams for Dara, ordering him to grab Yuru and get the hell out of there immediately. She begs him to hide Yuru outside the village among regular people and make sure nobody can ever get to them. Just like that, Dara appears out of nowhere, scoops Yuru up and books it. Meanwhile, Danji is busy helping his mom, who got injured during the attack. The moment Dara bursts out of the secret passage, he tells Yuru they're heading down the mountain right this second. Yuru fires back, asking what the hell is going on, but before he can even finish his sentence, a helicopter shows up and starts raining bullets on them. They're forced to take cover, completely blowing their window to escape. With Yuru's brain completely fried by everything that's happening, he starts questioning everything. Is his sister still alive? Who the hell was that girl who claimed to be his sister? Dara tells him there's zero time for a history lesson, shoves a medallion into his hand and says, "Hold on to this," pointing to a slot in the ground that has the exact same shape as the medallion. Yuru looks at him like he's crazy and goes, "Are you serious right now? Is this really the time?" Dara snaps back, telling him to just shut up and do what he's told. Yuru takes the medallion, totally clueless, and just goes along with Dara's plan. But surprise, surprise, the slot is completely jammed with dirt, so he has to frantically dig it out. The second he drops the medallion into the slot, Dara delivers a massive slap to the back of Yuru's head, slamming him face first into the dirt so hard that he actually starts bleeding. Yuru naturally loses his mind and screams, "What the hell are you doing, you jackass?" While they're busy fighting, the sniper in the helicopter is locking in, getting ready to finish them off. But at that precise moment, the medallion, now completely soaked in Yuru's blood, starts glowing like crazy. Along with it, the two statues at the village entrance emit a blinding light that flashes everyone. The soldiers in the helicopter are completely stunned as the chopper suddenly starts shaking and getting crushed in a bizarre way. Yuru looks up and sees two phantom figures grabbing the choppers and ripping them to shreds. Dara grabs Yuru and runs for his life before the helicopters crash and flatten them into pancakes. Meanwhile, Gabu is watching the smoking wreckage of the choppers, totally pissed because now she doesn't have a ride back. She mutters to herself, wondering whose Tsugai just showed up, hoping they're weak otherwise. This situation is gonna get way more derailed than it already is. We cut back to Yuru, who opens his eyes to the sound of someone saying, well, our master's just a little kid this time around. Look at this left. We'll be able to control him with zero effort. Standing right in front of him are two figures, staring at him intensely. Dara breaks it to him, telling him he can call them monsters, phantoms, demons, or whatever floats his boat. But the bottom line is, these two are his personal Tsugai. Yuru, of course, is standing there completely lost and confused, just like the rest of us. In the middle of this existential crisis, he flashes back to the first time his dad showed him that secret tunnel, telling him it leads directly outside the village, and that right and left would protect him at all times. He snaps out of his memories to the voices of right and left, who inform him that from this day on, they are his official Tsugai. While left is busy making fun of Yuru for standing there frozen like a statue, right tells him to cut it out and stop bullying the kid. Dara steps into the conversation, giving a respectful nod to right and left, but warns them that this isn't exactly the best time for a meet and greet, because some incredibly powerful people are hunting them down. They shoot back, making it clear that Yuru is their one and only master, and they aren't taking orders from anybody else. Dara argues back because, as they can clearly see, Yuru's head is jammed and they have zero time. Right at that split second, Gabu shows up and goes, "Damn, these Tsugai look pretty badass. Wonder who they belong to." Yuru finally snaps out of it and looks up like, what in the world is this floating mouth? Did this thing crawl straight out of a dentist's nightmare or what? Honestly, its vibe is totally off. Dara tells him, "Bro, shut your mouth. I literally just dropped a bomb on them and it didn't even scratch them." Gabu fires back, bragging that her teeth are strong as hell, then points at Yuru and says, "So you must be a Saz brother. All right, kid, wrap it up, you're coming with us." Right then, the image of his slaughtered sister and the rest of the villagers swimming in their own blood flashes before Yuru's eyes. He glares at her and asks, "Are you the one who massacred the villagers?" She casually replies, "Yep, that was all me." When Right tells Yuru, "Just give us the word master and we'll handle it," they shoot back that he isn't about to give them orders since they're the village guardians and he's just a little kid. But he tells them he's got two demands. First, they need to save whatever's left of the villagers and get them to safety. Second, they need to leave this loudmouthed chick to him because he's gonna personally obliterate her. Other than that, they have free reign to go wild. As he finishes his speech, he pulls out an arrow and locks it into his bow. Right gets totally hyped, thrilled that their luck finally hooked them up with a master who's just gonna let them loose. On the other side, Asad drops Yamaha's body, telling her that she's never going to forgive them for what they did to them, no matter what. She walks out of the place, and on her way, she runs into Danji. The moment he spots her, he immediately shields his injured mom. She just passes right by them and keeps moving. We cut back to Right, who flies straight at Gabu. She instantly drops into a defensive stance. He lets her know he's just heading out to save the villagers, but gives her a heads up to watch her back because his sister is in a pretty foul mood. Before he can even finish his sentence, Left delivers a devastating kick to Gabu and her Tsugai using a whole fighter jet. In a fraction of a second, Yuru snipes her with an arrow, piercing her leg and bringing her crashing to the ground. He locks in a second arrow to finish the job, but Gabu's Tsugai scoops her up at the last second and flies away. Yuru chases after her, with Dara grabbing the medallion and hot on his heels. Meanwhile, Right is busy waking up a little girl who was caught in the attack. Once she opens her eyes, he makes sure she's not hurt. Then he remembers she can't see him, so he reveals himself to her and she immediately faints all over again. He picks her up, drops her off with the rest of the kids he rescued, and grumbles, "Man, kids these days have zero respect. Like, even if I were a ghost, you don't gotta pass out like that, bro." "Well, buddy, you're technically a ghost, but whatever." At that exact second, Asa appears. Right gets excited that someone can finally see him, but out of nowhere, she attacks him instantly. He blocks her strike with a loud groan, yelling, "What's with the attitude? If you want to catch these hands, wait till I'm done with what I'm doing and then I'll totally wreck you." But she just ignores him and walks away, leaving him noticing that something is seriously off about her. On the flip side, Gabu is hiding out and taking cover behind her Tsugai, absolutely scared to death. Standing right across from her is Left, who's using all her raw strength to pry open the door, or rather, the giant monster's teeth. The moment left succeeds, Yuru lets an arrow fly, pinning Gabu right in the shoulder. She screams in pure agony. At that point, clears throat. She realizes Yuru operates on a no mercy, no breaks policy. But lucky for her, Asa bursts onto the scene, destroying the gateway and saving her right before Yuru can put her down for good. Yuru doesn't give a damn about any of this drama. He stands on top of the rubble, pointing his weapon straight at them, and demands to know who Asa really is. She calmly replies that she's his sister, Asa. Yuru shuts that down immediately, arguing that Asa is his twin, so there's no way she'd be older than him, let alone evil. She fires back, telling him that nutrition in the outside world is way better than in this broke-ass village, plus life hit her hard out there, which is why she grew up fast and tough. Right at that moment, Right flies in and goes, "All right, no need for a family feud here," confirming to Yuru that the girl in front of him is indeed his real sister because her scent is identical to his. Yuru is completely shell-shocked and asks, then who the hell was the Asa back at the mansion? Asa explains that she was just a fake clone meant to brainwash him. When she escaped the village with their parents 10 years ago, Yamaha and the villagers were terrified that Yuru would bounce and leave them too. So they cooked up this whole fake sister lie to keep him tied down to the village. And since he's a nice guy by nature, they knew he'd never walk out on his little sister. This is where Dara jumps into the conversation, going, "All right, now that we're all caught up, what do you say, Miss Asa? How about you back off and we call it a day?" When Yuru protests, Dara pulls him aside and explains that their main goal is to kidnap him, plus they have zero clue what Asa's actual power levels are. If he insists on fighting, things will completely spiral out of control, the village will be flattened, and all the kids they just saved will end up dead. Yuru is finally convinced and decides to roll with Dara's plan. He looks at Asa and proposes that if she leaves the villagers alone, he'll let her and Gabu walk away. Asa agrees to the deal without a second thought, completely ignoring Gabu's protests. Immediately, Yuru and Dara start pulling back, with right and left right behind them. Gabu turns to Asa, completely baffled, and asks why she let him walk away after finally finding him. Asa replies that she couldn't just leave her while she's bleeding out like this, adding that it's enough for her just knowing her brother is alive and well. Gabu's Tsugai pulls the arrows out of her body, muttering that Yuru is a ruthless hunter. She's shocked to see Asa tearing up, crying happy tears because her brother is alive, after she had basically lost all hope over the last 10 years. In the middle of all this, the barrier hiding the village starts booting back up. Gabu tells Asa, "Let's bounce before the barrier fully closes and locks us in." Meanwhile, two hikers are climbing up the mountain, taking a quick breather while talking about the legend of the lost village, how anyone who steps into it never finds their way back. While they're talking, Yuru and Dara blitz right past them, flying down the mountain faster than the speed of light. On the way down, Dara breaks it down for Yuru, explaining that running away is their best option because the village's location is totally compromised. Since Yuru is the main target, hiding out in the outside world is the only way to keep both the village and himself safe. After doing some serious acrobatics down the mountain, they finally reach Hana, who's waiting for them in a getaway car. Hana gets annoyed, complaining that she thought he was only bringing Yuru and didn't say a damn thing about his Tsugai. Dara tells her to cut the chatter because they're out of time and need to move ASAP. Hana introduces herself to Yuru as Dara's partner, while Dara asks right and left, who are busy inspecting the car with pure fascination, if there are any enemy Tsugai tracking them. They tell him the coast is clear. Dara instantly turns to Yuru and says, "Hop in, bro, let's get this show on the road. No more delays." Yuru looks at the car, completely weirded out, and goes, "You seriously want me to climb into this hunk of metal? Like, have you completely lost your mind?" Dara tries to clear things up, explaining that it's just a modern way to get around, not just some random scrap metal. Right then, Hana cuts him off and breaks it down for them, saying this is a car, and it's basically packed with the power of a whole herd of horses running at insane speeds. Hearing that, they're finally sold on the idea, no questions asked. On the flip side, Asa and Gabu are outside the village limits, waiting for their ride to pull up. In no time, this guy named Jin shows up with a squad of medics. When Gabu briefs him on the situation and shows him her wounds, he loses it and goes, "Holy S asterisk asterisk, you're busted up bad. Looking at you, anyone would think you just tripped and scraped your knee or something." She shrugs it off, telling him not to be so dramatic since she's totally used to pain. When Jin asks about Yuru, they let him know he slipped right through their fingers. He's completely baffled and asks how the hell they managed to miss him on their way up. Jin figures Yuru must have taken some hidden route or whatever, muttering that if the choppers were still in the air, tracking him would have been a breeze. That's when Gabu drops the bombshell. Yuru escaped with a guy named Dara, and he's most likely the one who wiped out their soldiers. Hearing this, Jin's face completely drops. He goes white as a sheet and says they just had the worst luck imaginable, stepping into a village that's backed by the servants of Dara's clan. He deeply regrets not bringing his own Tsugai along. We leave them and cut back to Dara, who's catching Hana up on everything that went down until they linked up with her. He mentions that the crew who raided the village is most likely the Kagemori clan, and since those guys saw his face and know his name, he's low-key thinking about shaving his beard, changing his identity, and fleeing the country. Right at that moment, Left taps on the car window, letting them know that another Tsugai is closing in on them at lightning speed. When they ask if they should gear up for a fight, she tells them to chill. It's actually a friend. Within seconds, a woman riding a majestic white horse manifests out of nowhere. She greets right and left, asking how they've been. They say hi back and let her know that their current master is actually one of the twins of Night and Day. She looks totally stunned and goes, "Damn, so this is actually a massive deal. Look, once you guys wrap up your business and head back, you better tell me the whole damn story." We find out this Tsugai's name is Ashira. The second she vanishes, Dara and Hana look like their brains just short-circuited because they never expected to cross paths with someone of her elite status. Yuru looks at them completely lost and asks, "Wait, so there's like a hierarchy or ranking system among Tsugai?" Hana takes the wheel and explains that yeah, they actually have different ranks, but honestly those are just labels made up by humans. Depending on a Tsugai's nature, some of them actually coexist with humans and help them out, just like Ashira, while others are just out here causing pure chaos and wrecking everything. Meanwhile, back with the other squad, Asa is apologizing to Jin for letting Yuru get away, telling him she takes full responsibility for the screw-up. He reassures her that there's no need to stress, because just knowing her brother is alive and kicking is a massive win in itself. Gabu chimed in, telling Jin that if Asa hadn't stepped in, she would have been totally captured or worse. Jin is taken aback and asks, wait, was his Tsugai really that overpowered? She corrects him, saying that while the Tsugai was definitely strong, the real problem was Yuru himself, because the kid attacked her with zero hesitation and pure, unadulterated savagery. At the exact same time, two of the soldiers who survived the raid are frantically trying to reach the rendezvous point with Asa and the rest of the crew, but they're completely stuck in the village, literally walking in circles after the barrier booted back up and locked the place down. Hana is giving him food and clothes to wear so he can blend in with regular people instead of looking like he just walked off the set of a historical drama in his old clothes. Right then, Dara shows up and man, he changed his clothes and looked to the point where he looks like a straight-up legit gangster. As soon as Yuru looks at the food, his mind is blown. He tells them, "What is this high-end, top-tier food? I've never seen anything like this in my entire life." Hana looks at him completely baffled and says, "Dude, what are you on about? These are just rice balls, it's not a big deal. What would you do if I brought you some barbecue?" Dara chimes in and says, "No, hold on, give him a break. In his village, rice is an incredibly rare luxury. The day they actually get to eat it, they throw a whole festival." Hana opens a rice ball for him and hands it over. The moment he takes a bite, he says he's never tasted anything this delicious in his life and feels like he's on top of the world. He wishes Asa could have been there to taste this food too. At that moment, Yamin calls out to Dara and asks him what kind of bizarre place they are in. Dara explains to him that they are at a rest stop, and he can think of it as something like an old school inn, but way more modern with restaurants, places to crash, and stuff like that. Dara notices that they are super intrigued by the place, so he suggests they go inside and check it out, but they refuse and let him know they'll stay back with Yuru to protect him while Dara and Hana go eat. Dara says if that's the case, then sounds like a plan. He reassures them that they won't be long. Before they walk away, Yamin tells Hana, "Oh, by the way, aren't you going to feed the horses inside this car or what?" She lets him know that their food is kept somewhere else. Now inside the restaurant, we see them sitting and eating. Hana asks Dara what exact information he gave Yuru. He answers that he barely told him that the sister he spent most of his life with was a fake person, and even that almost drove him crazy. That's why Dara feels it's better for them to play it safe and not let him know any more than that, especially since he's still just a kid. She replies that she doesn't get his actions because she honestly can't stand kids, and she asks him what they're supposed to do now, like, does he want to go back home or what? He answers that his face and his name are blown now, so there's no point in going back to the safe house. She tells him, so basically you're homeless now and you're supposed to raise Yuru. Dang, I actually feel bad for you. He shoots back that he's not in this mess alone and that she's in it with him, since they are both servants to Tsugai of the village. She reassures him that she'll do her part and there's no need to take things so seriously. So he tells her, well, since it's like that, how about we just get married? And oh boy, all hell broke loose. Hana would have absolutely wiped the floor with him if they weren't in a public place. Dara quickly explains to her that this would just be a front so they don't draw any attention and can blend in with the crowd. They just disguise themselves as a married couple and Yuru would be their son. She fires back that if that's the case, there's no need to pretend to be married. He then explains to her that people will trust them way easier if they play it as a family. She says, fine, if that's how it is, then I'm Yuru's older sister and you're the dad. The main thing is that we aren't like married or dealing with any of that gross stuff. He makes her understand that her suggestion would just bring rumors and gossip they don't need, and it's better to just stick to his idea and call it a day. In the end, she gives in to his plan since there's no better alternative, though it's glaringly obvious she hates his guts. Meanwhile outside, Yamin was carefully inspecting the car, asking himself where the horses inside this car are. Shama answers him that the world has evolved. At the same time, Yuru apologizes to them because he finished all the food and asks if they are hungry. They reassure him that he doesn't need to worry his head about them because they don't need to eat like humans at all. Yuru says, alright, if that's the case then awesome, let's keep things casual and completely real, but there's something super important I need to know. He asks them to fill him in on absolutely anything they know about him and his sister. Yaman tells him, "All right, listen up, man. This whole thing started a long time ago. We've been sitting at the village gate protecting it for 400 years, and we haven't seen anyone except the people coming in and out. We have zero clue about what actually later we started seeing you going out with your mom and dad, especially when your dad used to take you hunting with him." Yuru replies that he remembers that, and the thing he remembers the most is his dad teaching him how to hunt when he was little. Shama picks up the story and says that despite all of that, they had never actually seen his twin sister until now, so they assumed she got sick and his dad and mom escaping and leaving the village, carrying a little girl whose scent was exactly like his. Yuru says, and then that girl grew up and came back to attack the village. And here I thought our dad and mom just abandoned us and ran away. But it looks like I'm the only one who actually stayed in the village. Sadness shows on his face because he is now completely alone. But he continues, saying that now he must find Asa because she most likely knows where their dad and mom are. His train of thought is cut off when he sees Dara and Hana coming back, and Hana looks like she's about to blow a fuse from anger. He asks her what's going on through before they hit the road. Yuru says, "No need, I already took care of business," and points to the trees behind the place, which is honestly the peak of grossness. Hana tells him, "Are you out of your mind? You are completely hopeless, and also stop sitting on top of the car because you're going to draw attention like that." He actually gets down from the car and tells her, weird. Yuru retorts, "Wait, how? Yaman and Shama have been chilling on top of the car the whole damn time, and literally nobody said a word to them." Hana fires back to explain the reality of the situation, telling him, "Look, boss, regular humans can't even see the Tsugai." Yuru looks over at Yaman, completely dumbfounded, and goes, "Wait, for real?" Yaman backs up Hana's words, confirming that only Tsugai users can actually spot them. Shama chimes in, adding that they can show themselves to humans if they want to, and that there are actually some rare folks out there who just have the natural gift to see them. With that settled, they finally hop into the car and hit the road. As they're driving, Dara drops some quick knowledge on Yuru to bring him up to speed. He tells him about the Kagomori clan, explaining that they have a bunch of Tsugai users under their belt. Originally, they were actually part of the village, but they decided to pack their bags, leave the village behind, and live in the normal world because they had some massive creative differences and disagreements with the village elders. Dara tells Yuru that, in his opinion, it's best not to get tangled up with them so things don't get even more messy. He goes on to explain that there's a group of villagers living out in the normal world, and through them, a rumor spread that one of the twins was with the Kagomori clan. And as they all just witnessed firsthand, that rumor turned out to be. Her stands there and she asks him, terrified out of her mind, "Get the hell away from me, you animal. Don't you dare come near me." He shoots back that he has to get close if he's going to kill her. He pulls out a knife and calmly edges closer while she's shaking like a leaf. Right before he takes those final steps toward her, she warns him, "If you take one more step, you're stepping right into my territory." Suddenly, she morphs into a straight-up terrifying monster. The attacker completely freezes in his tracks as the tables turn 180 degrees. Just like that, the hunter becomes the prey. Right from beneath his feet, a Tsugai pops up and literally swallows him whole. Outside the elevator, we see Jan talking to someone, reporting that the mission is a done deal. The guy hunting her won't be bothering her anymore, and she can go right back to living her normal life. At that exact moment, a random woman coming back from work walks up to call the elevator out of pure habit. But she completely can even utter a word. He motions to her to keep this little secret between them. We cut back to our main crew. Dara lets Yuru know that he and Hana don't actually hold all the answers. All they know is that their family has been serving the village's Tsugai for generations, and they just inherited the family business. He explains that Yamaha was dead set on making sure nobody ever found the location of the village, and that the twins must never fall into anyone's hands. Their job description was pretty straightforward. Dara handles the intel and supplies, disguising himself as a merchant traveling back and forth between the village and the normal world. Hana, on the other hand, has literally never set foot in the village. Her entire operation is strictly on the outside. Dara wraps up by saying he has no clue what Yamaha and the rest of the village elders are actually cooking up in their heads, but he's just doing his job, obeying orders and keeping the village safe. Asks, completely puzzled, "Yamaha was incredibly pissed off about the Kagomori clan trying to kidnap me, so what's the actual reason behind that?" Dara hesitates for a few seconds. Seeing this, Yaman takes over to tell the story. He explains that there's an ancient legend in the village. It says that when a boy and a girl are born as twins on a day where night and day are perfectly equal, it's a bad omen, a sign that the world is about to enter a brutal era of chaos and conflict. As far as they know, the last time this went down was 400 years ago. Back then, the twins were born, and Japan ended up split clean in half east and west, with non-stop wars tearing everything apart. And even before that whole mess, the country had been split into north and south, with everything constantly burning down. In both historical instances, it was the Tsugai users pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Yuru reacts, "So what you're saying is that because we're twins, we're a walking curse." Yaman sets him straight, telling him that they themselves have nothing to do with it. The real issue is the greedy people out there who want to weaponize their power to spark a massive war. Yuru looks at him totally bewildered and goes, "What power are you even talking about? As you can clearly see, I've got zero power to my name." Yaman replies. Yaman answers him, saying that even though he's got zero power right now, things are definitely going to change down the road. Shama pipes up to let him know that he's bound to unlock a unique power of his own. Dara jumps into the conversation and points out that Asa has most likely unlocked her power already. At that moment, Yaman fills them in, explaining that her power is probably the break, an ability that lets her open up and expose literally anything with ease, whether it's a barrier or whatever else. On the flip side, the power Yuru is destined to get, since he's her twin, is the seal, which allows him to close up and lock down anything. Hearing this, Dara asks them, has anyone ever managed to unlock both of these abilities at the exact same time? Shama answers that as far as they know, that has never happened in history. Hana asks, is it possible that the whole way the villagers are living is because there's something out there completely controlling them? Yuru nods and says that her theory actually makes total sense. He then asks Dara how the heck he used to get into the village while the barrier was up. Dara explains that there's a secret entrance to the village, but the path is super complicated and exhausting. Since this kind of thing happens every now and then, someone gets lost, takes the secret path while trying to find their way back, and ends up right inside the village. At that exact moment, Yuru flashes back to when he was a little kid, remembering his mom telling him that she wanted to take them and leave the village so they could visit the place where she was round. Yaman and Shama are totally amazed by all the lights everywhere, and especially by the buildings, which are way bigger than anything they could have ever imagined. They mistake the high-rises in front of them for stone fortresses packed with soldiers. But Yuru sets them straight, explaining that these are just regular apartment buildings with normal, everyday people living inside. Shama goes, well, I guess that makes sense since it's the capital. It's bound to have tons of people. Yuru corrects her, saying that this is just a distant city, and the actual capital, Tokyo, has millions of people living in it. Their minds are completely blown by that massive number, and they wonder how on earth there's even enough food to feed everyone. But on the bright side, they realize it's incredibly easy to blend in and hide among that many people. Shama looks at him and says, so out of this whole army of humans, you're gonna hunt down your sister, right? He answers that while Dara and Hana are nice and helping him out if they turn out to be connected to the conspiracy that forced his parents to flee the village, he won't be able to trust them. But even so, he doesn't fully trust Asa either. He wraps up his thoughts, saying that escaping the village with a baby definitely wasn't an easy task. That's why he absolutely has to face his mom and dad to find out from them what actually went down. And the only way to get to them is by capturing. Yaman and Shama agree to back him up. They all head back to Dara, who is waiting for them. The moment Dara wraps up his phone call, he lets them know that Hana found a solid place for them to stay, so they can finally catch a break from sleeping in the car. Right then, Yuru asks him about the phone in his hand, and Dara jokingly explains to him that it's a device that sends smoke signal messages. In today's episode, we see Yuru walking into the house that Hana rented. He's completely blown away by how it looks, especially the tatami mats spread across the floor. He says in total that he can't believe he's actually staying in this room, especially since back home, they only brought out these mats for super important occasions. While Yuru is soaking in all this luxury that he could only dream of back in the village, man, I swear I feel so bad for this kid, bam. Out of nowhere, a cat and a dog slap him right across the face for absolutely no reason. He screams in pain. Hana goes, oh my bad, I totally forgot to introduce you. These are Kotsu and Gyro. Right then, Yaman and Shimmel walk in, introduce themselves, and greet everyone. When Dara mentions it's his first time meeting the local Tsuga, Yuru bursts out, wait, this dog and cat are Tsuga, you've got to be kidding me. But before he can even finish his sentence, Gyro and Kotsu jump him again and completely wreck him. Looks like they seriously can't stand him. Man, I really feel for the guy. So Yaman gives him a heads up. Don't treat them like regular animals or you're gonna regret it. Since we're sharing the same roof, you better treat them with some respect. Once they're done with the whole introduction phase, Hana lets them know they'll be using her family name. Yuru is shocked and says, wait, you actually have a last name? You must be some kind of royalty, not commoners like us. Hana explains to Yuru that outside the village, everyone has a last name, it's totally normal. Dara chimes in sarcastically, oh, just wait till he finds out her family owns an entire mountain. What are you gonna do then? Yuru's eyes light up and he says, wait, are you seriously from a royal bloodline or something? Man, I will literally worship the ground you walk on. By the way, can I go hunting on your mountain? Hana smacks Dara to shut him up before he messes things up any further, and she explains the whole situation to Yuru. On the flip side, we see Asa sitting down, hyper-focused on an apple in front of her. With a swift hand gesture, she slices the apple peel as if she used a knife. A moment later, she tries it again, but things don't go as planned at all. She completely wrecks the place. She sighs and admits she still has a long way to go before she can fully control her powers. Just then, the head of the Kajimori family arrives, followed by Jin and two other guys. Asa welcomes him, thanks him for his help, and apologizes for constantly destroying his garden since she hasn't mastered her powers yet. He replies that it's all good as long as she hasn't accidentally killed anyone, and tells her she can keep training as much as she wants. Honestly, this old guy is so chill. He reminds me of myself. With a simple gesture from the old man, Jin summons his own tsugai, which devours the ruined rocks in a matter of seconds. Asa asks them what brings them by, and the old man replies that they came to check on Gabu. They head into Gabu's room, and after greeting her, Gabu says, "Honestly, you guys are making a mountain out of a molehill. There was no need to trouble yourselves, but hey, I hope you didn't come empty-handed." Asa snaps at her. "Shut your mouth, seriously. Just take this apple and hold yourself over," but then she remembers she doesn't have a knife. Jin says, "Don't even sweat it," and has his tsugai pull a knife out of its body. It's pretty obvious his tsugai works like a walking storage unit. Gabu, who's sitting there playing on her Nintendo Switch, says, "Wait, you're gonna slice her apple with that sketchy-looking knife." Jin reassures her that there's no need to worry because he hasn't killed anyone with this specific knife. At that point, the old man tells Gabu to chill out and focus on recovering from her injuries. He also orders Asa not to leave the house, because if word gets out that she and her brother came down from the village, a ton of people will target them. He mentions that even some people within the Kajimori family are just waiting for the perfect chance to pounce on her. But as long as she's under his roof, he guarantees nobody will touch her. He wraps up by saying that Jin will take charge of tracking down Yuru. Jin speaks up, "Sorry to bother you, but what does this Yuru guy actually look like?" At that exact moment, Asa channels her inner Picasso and draws a completely unrealistic, hilarious picture of Yuru. And the drawing of Gabu doesn't even need a comment, it speaks for itself. Anyway, Jin takes the drawings and tries to piece together what Yuru looks like in his head. Before they leave, Asa warns him that Yimin and Shimmel have an insane sense of smell and can tell people apart just by the scent of their blood. Back on the other side, Dara had just gotten a fresh clean shave and a haircut, looking all cleaned up. Hana looks at him and goes, "That is so gross, you look hideous without your beard." When Dara looks down at his gear, he realizes the knife he had on him is gone. He asks Hana where it went, and she says she has no clue because she didn't touch anything, but mentions that Yuru went out for a walk and might have taken it. When Dara says he's worried about him, she tells him there's no reason to stress because Yimin and Shimmel are with him, so nothing bad can happen. Meanwhile, outside the house, Yuru is standing on the rooftop of a building, looking down at the city lights at night. He says the outside world is absolutely mind-blowing, and that even the ground is full of glowing stars, obviously talking about the streetlights and headlights. Yimin asks him, "Did the sheer size of the world make you doubt whether you can actually find your sister?" When Yuru says yeah, Shimmel reassures him, saying that if his sister is out there looking for him too, they're bound to cross paths eventually. In the middle of deep thought, Yuru suddenly snaps and says, "Wait a second, don't you guys have an insane sense of smell? And you can sense the presence of other tsugai, right? So all we gotta do is look for a place with tsugai and people who smell just like Asa." They look at each other and they absolutely love the idea. Yuru gave the order and they executed it instantly. Before Yuru could even think about changing his mind, they transformed and blasted off into the air at the speed of sound. Within seconds, they reached their destination, and Yuru ended up face-planted on the ground. Yimin grabbed him by the head and said, Man up, stop acting like a total wimp. There are a bunch of tsugai around here, and your sister's scent is all over the place." Shimmel asked him for permission to just wipe those tsugai out without further talk, but Yuru replied that he'd rather try to reason with them instead of fighting. She tried to make him understand that tsugai aren't human, and trying to talk things out with them is usually a terrible idea. When he asked, "So you mean tsugai are just like wild predators?" Yimin cut him off, following the scent that kept getting stronger until they reached an underground garage. From a distance, they spotted Jin walking with two other guys. Yimin smirked and said, "Jackpot, we found the target. That's Asa's scent and tsugai energy, especially from that four-eyed kid. And since we noticed them, there's no way their tsugai haven't spotted us too." Yuru replied that he couldn't see a single tsugai in front of him, so either they were invisible or he desperately needed to see an eye doctor. Their conversation got cut short when Asa suddenly appeared right in front of them. The moment Yuru caught a glimpse of her, everything that happened back in the village flashed through his mind. He charged toward her, hand on his knife, ready to tear them all to shreds. But out of nowhere, Yimin shouted, telling him to fall back immediately. Before Yuru could even react, Jin's tsugai popped up and swallowed him whole. Jin pulled out a vial filled with Asa's blood and told Yuru that he knew his tsugai had a crazy sense of smell, so he came fully prepared. He added, "Since you were targeting Asa, you've gotta be Yuru." As soon as he finished his sentence, the fake Asa vanished. It was just an illusion created by Jin's tsugai. Jin then introduced himself to Yuru and revealed that his tsugai's name is the Snatcher. Meanwhile, Hana was losing her absolute mind, screaming that they needed to find Yuru right away. When Dara told her to chill out so the kid wouldn't go hurt someone and cause them a massive headache, she snapped back, saying the real problem would be if Yuru himself got hurt. Dara mocked her, saying, "Wow, I thought you were just like Asa and hated kids, but look at you. Turns out you've got a soft heart and you're actually worried about the kid." Hana looked at him like he was stupid and said, "Are you out of your mind? Soft heart, my foot. This kid isn't even registered in the state database. If anything happens to him, we'll have to cover his medical bills out of our own pockets. Man, what a gold digger. And here I was thinking she was genuinely worried about the kid. Turns out she was just worried about her bank account. Obviously, both of them froze like a deer in headlights the second money was mentioned. Hana rushed over to Gyro and ordered him to catch Yuro's scent and fly after him, since he's a dog and that's his job. Gyro looked completely disgusted by Yuro's scent, but he did what he was told and took off into the air. At that moment, Hana handed Kotsu a phone with a map pulled up, telling him to track Gyro's location. Dara was completely shocked seeing Kotsu casually using a smartphone like a pro, while the other Tsugai barely knew what technology was. After scrolling through the map for a bit, they discovered that Yuru had already made it all the way to Tokyo. They were utterly baffled, asking themselves whether he was just wandering aimlessly or if he actually had a master plan in mind. On the flip side, Jin was explaining to Yuru that the greed of the village elders and their obsession with exploiting the twins was way bigger than they could handle. That's why he was being so cautious, fully expecting an attack or an attempt to kidnap Asa. While Jin was busy figuring out his next move and how to track down Yuru, Yuru literally walked right into his trap and saved him all the trouble. Right then, Yuru whipped out his knife and struck the fish-teeth Tsugai, but it didn't do a single thing. The two guys with Jin called out to Yimin and Shimmel, telling them to show themselves because there was no point in hiding anymore. Yimin and Shimmel debated what to do, especially since even though their opponent wasn't holding any weapons, their Tsugai were hiding in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In the end, they decided to just go out there and let the chips fall where they may. They walked calmly and steadily toward the humans, who demanded they surrender since they had captured their master, warning them that they'd finish him off otherwise. But Yimin and Shimmel completely ignored them and kept walking as if they hadn't heard a word. Jin and his crew took a step back. When Yuru apologized to Yimin and Shimmel for rushing in blindly and ordered them to stay put, Jin and his guys were stunned to see the Tsugai giving orders to their master instead of the other way around. Yuru replied, "I give them total freedom. They can do whatever they want." They geared up for battle. Yimin told Shimmel to take it easy since their opponent was unarmed. But out of nowhere, Jin's Tsugai spit out a massive pile of weapons from its mouth, and Jin and his men started riddling the place with bullets. However, Yimin and Shimmel didn't take a scratch. The guys then pulled out shotguns and blasted them, but still, nothing worked. Left with no choice, they used their trump card, a grenade that exploded right on them, engulfing the whole place in flames. Yet despite all of that, Yimin and Shimmel didn't even flinch. At that exact moment, Jin's Tsugai threw a massive rock right into Yimin's face, and that was the only thing that actually hurt him, considering they are basically made of rock too. Realizing this, Jin and his men decided that close quarters combat was their only shot. They rushed Yimin and Shimmel, who blocked their attacks effortlessly. But just as Yimin and Shimmel were getting ready to counterattack, they were blindsided by the hidden Tsugai. Before they could move, a massive tortoise dropped right on top of Shimmel, pinning her down. Yimin yelled out her name, but a tiny rabbit grabbed him by the leg. Out of nowhere, this rabbit punched him right in the jaw, completely wiping the floor with him in the blink of an eye, showing him who's boss. Yimin yelled for his sister to help him, only to find out she was completely pinned down and couldn't move. "Bro, I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Here I thought you guys were some unstoppable phantoms, and you just got totally wrecked by a literal rabbit and a tortoise. That is honestly embarrassing." Our trapped hero, Yuru, analyzed the situation, made a split-second decision, and hurled his knife straight at the tortoise. For a moment, the tortoise lost its balance, causing its power to fade. That was the exact window Shimmel needed to break free. Before anyone could react, she shattered the fish teeth that were trapping Yuru. Instantly, Yuru grabbed one of the fish teeth, hurled it right at one of Jin's men, and bolted. With a quick gesture from Yuru, Yimin let out a loud screech, destroying all the light fixtures in the area and plunging the entire place into pitch-black darkness. During those few chaotic seconds, the rabbit told its master that Yimin and Shimmel were escaping. Jin thought to himself that Yuru had nowhere to run since they had the whole place surrounded. But then Asa's words flashed through his mind that her brother is a top-tier hunter. Unfortunately for him, the realization came way too late. Yuru pounced on him with zero mercy. If Jin hadn't dodged at the last second, his leg would have been completely severed. He collapsed to the ground, writhing in pain as Yuru's attack crippled his leg. The moment that Tsugai lit up the area again, they were shocked to see Yuru holding a weapon right at Jin's throat. The tables had turned, the hunter had just become the prey. Only then did Yimin and Shimmel stroll back into the area. The young guys with Jin yelled at them, asking how they could just abandon their master and run away. They coldly replied that they do whatever they want and they'll use any tactic to get the win. Yimin reminded them that Yuru is the twin of the night, meaning the darkness is his literal playground. Even if they left him alone, he could easily handle himself. And even if his plan had failed, they would have stepped in and cleaned up the mess anyway, since they could track his location through his scent. Yuru looked down at Jin and asked if he had anything to do with the attack on the village, since he belongs to the Kajimori clan. Jin confessed that he was indeed the one mastermind behind the attack. At that moment, absolute rage took over Yuru. His hand shook as he gripped his knife, just seconds away from taking Jin's life. But at the very last moment, he managed to control his anger. He demanded Jin pull out his phone and call Asab because he wanted to talk to her face to face. So what's going to happen next? Will Yuru finally uncover the dark truth? What will he do when he finds out the real reason why his parents fled the village and why his sister is teaming up with the Kajimori clan? We'll find out all of this and more in the upcoming episodes. Last but not least, I really hope you guys support us by smashing that like and share button and subscribing to the channel. Drop your thoughts and predictions in the comments below. Peace out.